Greetings and welcome to the Power Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dawson, joined as always by Johnny Paulus. Johnny, welcome in. How are you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing good. As always, the weekend went by too fast, but it was really entertaining. So my youngest got some Nintendo Online gift cards so that he could pick whatever games he wanted. And the first thing he bought was Cult of the Lamb. And he's been playing Cult of the Lamb for like a week. He's hooked on it. And my wife's been watching him play it for a week and was getting so annoyed with the way that he was handling the gardening and his followers and like how, you know, just like his town's a mess. And my wife's watching it going, I'm going to play this damn game. So she fired it up yesterday. I had a gig. She always texts me when she's going to bed. So like I finished my first set. It's like 9:30, no text. Finished my second set, 10:30, no text. Finished my third set, 11:30, still no text. I get in the car, I start driving home. I was like, all right, honey, I'm going to bed. I was like, damn, she stayed up till midnight playing Cult of the Lamb. Now, my wife is full-blown hooked right now on Cult of the Lamb.
That game is very addictive. I had a lot of fun with it.
It is. It is a very fun game. But no, I've been enjoying that, and my oldest is still very hooked on Midnight Suns. He's rocking through it. I think both of my kids are about 2/3 of the way through that game. They're both loving it, which is crazy. The amount of games I got them for Christmas. Midnight Suns was not the one that I expected them to keep going back to, and they just keep going back to it.
Are they loving the friend simulator aspect of it, or is it just
it doesn't seem to bother them at all?
That's cool. That's very.
I mean,
cool.
they definitely. I definitely see both of them skipping some of the dialogue. There's definitely moments where they're just like, I whatever. I don't care anymore. But I mean, otherwise they're both hooked on the damn game. It's crazy. But I mean, like I got them Sonic, I got them Splatoon 3. Those were the games I thought I'd never be able to get them off of. But now they've been just rocking Midnight Suns like crazy.
Yeah, I'm slowly but surely I'm picking up speed again, but working through my stack of Christmas editions, which is quite unruly and massive that I have to get through. Yeah, so this past week for me was pretty okay. It was pretty just fine.
Okay.
The little one wanted to venture off to see her grandparents who live about an hour away, so I dropped her off there yesterday and picked her up today. Before I went for her today, though, I actually met up with some old colleagues of mine and played some guitar, checked out my buddy's studio, who I hooked up with some soundproofing, sound paneling stuff. He's doing well. Saw your cohort from your 9 to 5. He came and hung out for a little bit. Unfortunately, about the time that I was getting ready to leave to go pick up little one from grandparents' house, I didn't get to see him, but maybe for 10 minutes. But
right.
First time I've seen him probably, I'm realizing, in 6 or 7 years, something like that, which it doesn't feel like it's been that long.
Time moves fast when you get old, man.
Yeah, definitely am noticing. Well, I think it's actually just the one particular phase in one's life.
Yeah.
Where, you know, you're getting married, you have kids, and everything kind of goes by in a blur in that phase of life, you know.
Yep.
And it years feel like months when you look back and see people are like, oh man, it has not been 6 years. I'm like, no,
yeah,
it's been like 6 or 7 years. So yeah, good to see him. And so now we're planning like more regular guitar nerd hangout events and things.
Yeah, he just gave me a Facebook invite for a guitar hangout.
I'm going to that, so you should come.
I will probably be there.
You should definitely come.
I got to drag my Veta over there. He keeps telling me to bring my Veta and just leave it there.
The Veta? Well, yeah, I guess
I can't. I mean, I can't do anything with it here.
That is a valid point. I thought almost comically I should bring my Spider 5 combo amp and be like, yeah, check this out. You think your fucking diesel's nice? Wait till you get a load of this bitch.
Yeah, plop it next to his Paul Reed Smith head and his Mesa Boogie head, and like he's got some sick shit in that house.
Yeah, I did learn though that old, a lot of my friends who are guitar players have accumulated a fairly ridiculous amount of guitars over the years. And I always get the same feedback when they play mine, because I have that one wine red Epiphone Elite Les Paul Custom, that nice Japanese custom shop version of the guitar that existed for a very short period of time. But I've played the absolute pants off that thing because it's really the only electric guitar that I play ever, and it's always been that way. And there's just something about a guitar that's that played in that feels, even to foreign hands, so much better than a fresh guitar that doesn't have a lot of hours on it. And, between him and Darren, whose house we were at today, my buddy since I was 16 years old, they have a lot of guitars that don't have a lot of hours on them. You know what I mean? Because they just buy. And it's like, dude, this one guitar probably has more hours on it than all of your guitars combined. And it just feels so much better. So you sort of prescribed that same philosophy, if I recall. You have a few guitars, but really, whenever I've seen Johnny play an electric guitar live, it's usually been an SG.
Until I got the Mira. Once I got the Mira, that became my number one big time. I love my Mira. But no, I mean, for me, I'm when it comes to guitars, I see them like tools in a toolbox, right? And like once I have that tool, I don't need more of that tool. You know what I mean? So it's like, when I really wanted that Gretsch hollow body, it's because I didn't have a hollow body and I didn't have a Gretsch, and nothing else sounds like a Gretsch hollow body, right? But now that I have that, I have no desire for a nicer Gretsch hollow body. Like, no, I have that. That will be my Gretsch sound until the day that I die. When I need that sound, I have that guitar. When I need my telly, I've got my telly. When I need my, but no, I've always kind of treated guitars like tools. It's once I have the right wrench that does the right thing, I'm good. I don't need 20 of them.
Yeah, I still play out live the same jazz bass that I got when I was 16. And same thing. I mean, that thing has so many hours on it. It just feels so much better than any other one you put your hands on. It's just,
amen.
You can't change that. So for any of our listeners who are musicians, you just need one. You just need one that's good, and it'll treat you right. You don't have to have the gas, as we call it in the industry, the gear acquisition syndrome. If you ever hear a musician who has bad gas, it just means they keep buying shit. And I mean, there's something to be said for collecting. I like collecting video games, and some people like collecting guitars. So I guess, there is that aspect of it that's different. But it just takes me back to the days of working in the music store. And, I've learned too, since coming into my current job, that every single music store on the planet has that guy that comes in like once every week or two and buys a new instrument. Like every single store has that guy. And it doesn't matter how expensive the guitars are in the store. They have to do it. It's like some mental thing. I don't know what it is, but my first guitar job when I was working at like more of the boutique-y guitar shop, and we had a lot of really high-end guitars. We had Gibson Custom Shop and Fender Custom Shop and Paul Reed Smith and Martins and all that stuff. I had this customer, he was a dentist in Florida, and he would call me every other Friday on payday, and we would have maybe a 4-minute conversation. And he would call and go, I think I want like a really nice acoustic. Have you guys gotten any like really nice acoustics in? Yeah, actually, we just got a Martin D42K. It's Koa back and sides. It's gorgeous. It plays really good. It's amazing. How much is it? Play it for me through the phone.
Oh, it's $4,400. Okay, cool. I'll take it. All right, cool. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Click. And he would pay for FedEx Saturday overnight. And every other Friday, this dude would call me, tell me what he needed. And we'd have a 2-minute. I had his credit card number on file. It was like, I just knew the deal. He'd tell me what he wanted. I'd grab the box. I'd box it up, and I'd FedEx Saturday overnight it every other week.
Kind of makes
literally every other week.
People like that are like the only times I'm ever like, man, maybe owning a music store wouldn't be so bad. And then you realize like owning a music store is like the worst fucking thing on the planet Earth. You
Yeah.
definitely don't want to do that unless you really, really like it, because you ain't going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh man, especially not for all the headache people that you have to deal with in that business too. So
Well, and at the time at that gig, we had we cornered the niche high end guitar thing as far as the internet goes. Like we were the first website where like when we got a new Paul Reed Smith, we'd take 20 pictures of it, weigh it, and put all of that on the website so that people knew what it weighed, and they'd have, we'd take it out in the sunlight and take 30 photos of it. And that's why we sold them, because people weren't, for that kind of high end guitar, when you're spending that kind of money, you want to play it, but if you don't have a Paul Reed Smith dealer near you, what else can you do? You're going to go to the place that has the most info.
Yeah, different times back then for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, we'd kind of cornered the market at the time, but
yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Mike had a guitar hang, and Johnny's got his entire family addicted to Cult of the Lamb. That is our recap of our week.
Pretty much.
Welcome in. This is episode 103 of the Power Gamer Podcast. We are, of course, going to start off this week's episode, as we always do, by first discussing the games that we've been playing this week. I'm gonna wrap for a bit on mine, so let's go ahead and talk about yours. There's definitely some interesting stuff here on your list this week.
Yeah, I've been busy. I have been going really hard on Marble Snap still, especially when I'm streaming. There's 2 days left in the season. I'm trying to get to level infinity, which is 100. As of right now, I hit 93, so I think it can be done, and I'm hoping to get there. So for the next 2 days, it's going to be Snap only.
You certainly had a nice boon appear on Snap, where you just recently unlocked Super Scroll.
Super Scroll, and Absorbing Man.
Oh, you have, so no people can't meme on you about Absorbing Man.
The meme is dead. I even, when I posted the picture in the Discord, I said the meme has died.
So, but you got Scroll right as the featured space.
Yep.
Is related to ongoing. So
yes.
There's
so many cards that people forget that. Okay, so the thing that's really overpowered about the Super Scroll is he inherits the ongoing of all enemy cards that have an ongoing ability. Now here's the thing. If you Super Scroll in one lane and then you Mystique in another, you now have 2 Super Scrolls that are copying all ongoings from all of their cards. So if they play 1 Iron Man, you have 2 Iron Mans. If they play 1 Mojo, you have 2 Iron Man with Mojo. If they play Ant-Man, that's a +3 for both of them. If they play Warpath, that's a +5 for both of them if you have an empty lane. Like, it's broken. And a lot of people forget how it works. So they're snapping and going, I got this all day, especially Mr. Negative decks. Mr. Negative decks go so hard, and they don't realize how bad they're going to get just destroyed.
Yeah, because the way around Scroll is to either sap his ability or to not play ongoing cards, period. You
cannot sap his ability.
Oh, it's not an ongoing ability.
It is an ongoing ability, but if you manage to make a copy of it, let's say they rogue it and they steal it, and you have another scroll, you're just keeping what they stole.
True. So you're sitting pretty to actually make it to 100 this year. So.
I might be able to do it. So yeah, I've been going really hard on Snap, but other than that, maybe 4 or 5 nights ago, I got frustrated with Snap. I decided I needed a break. So somebody in chat said, play Doom Eternal. And I was like, you know what? I've been working on the DLC, the Ancient Gods Part 1 and Part 2. Last time I sat down with it was maybe 2 months ago. And I finally caved and lowered the difficulty. When I beat the original Doom Eternal, I beat it on hard. I played the whole game on hard, rolled credits. There was a handful of spots that really challenged me, but it was doable. The DLC is so effing hard that I finally lowered it down to normal, and then I tried that like 2 or 3 different times. Like, I'd fire it up and play it for an hour on the same checkpoint, and then I'd go, screw this, And then a month later, I'd fire it up again. And I mean, this went on for like 2-3 months, right? Just every once in a while, I would fire it up, just trying to get through this damn checkpoint. And I finally gave up, said, fuck it. I put it on easy, I blasted through it. And then I didn't realize I was only like 30 minutes away from beating part 1. But the last boss fight was awesome. There was all these platforms and laser beams to dodge, and it was a lot going on. It was really, really cool. And there was a big reveal at the end, setting me up for part 2. So I'm looking forward to firing that up. But so I rolled credits on Ancient Gods Part 1. And yesterday I rolled credits on Ghostwire Tokyo.
This is the one I'm interested to discuss a little bit with you.
Yeah. I think I'm suffering from the symptom of you and McKieran hyping it up too much. Because I walked away from this game, I thought the music was great. I thought the atmosphere was great. I thought some of the visual tricks and stuff that they do was phenomenal. Honestly, I found most of the rest of the game pretty mediocre. Not bad, not regret playing it. I still think if you like first-person shooters, you'll probably enjoy the game. But no, I didn't walk away from it glowing. I think on my score I come out probably like a 7.5.
I don't think that's terribly far off from where I marked it.
Yeah, I mean it's just I don't know.
I think I was low 8s on that.
Yeah, I wanted more. I think if there had been more enemy types, more attack types, and more variation of the side quests. Really what killed it for me was just how dull the side quests were.
So let's discuss the main story a little bit.
Sure.
What did you make of the main story? I mean, we can speak somewhat openly about it.
I didn't really have any problems with the story. I liked the story. I liked the villain. I liked his motivations. I liked how it finished with his sister. I liked the reveal at the end with the parents. I mean, all of that was executed very well. Again, I think the main things I bumped into with this game was the stuff between the meat. Like the meat of the game was good. But then you go, well, let me go do the side quest over here, and it's a random ghost with a weird voice that goes, oh no, there's something in this building, and you're like, oh, well, let's go in this building. So you go in that building, and there's nothing in that building except for the one door that you can open, and then you go into the one room with the one door that you can open, and you fight some things, and then you're done, and that's the side quest. And the side quest really took me out of it. The main story stuff, the main cinematics, the big story beats of the game were awesome. It felt like, I don't know if there was too many side quests or if they just needed to put more effort into them, but I felt the grind way earlier than I should feel the grind.
So I think here's my observation, because I've heard you talk about, the main story and the side quests. But if you go back and you listen to me and Mickey's...
and I started that episode yesterday. I am going to listen to the whole thing now.
If you go back and listen to that, if there's a certain aspect of the game that if it doesn't grab you, it's just going to be kind of a wash. And really that is the collecting aspect of the game. Like if you're not, and you didn't highlight it at all ever, and I've kind of been listening to your feedback on it, and it's really never come up, that if you don't enjoy going through and finding all the collectibles and trying to gather all the souls to return everyone back to Tokyo, which there's an ending for doing that. So if you actually put in the effort to go through and save everyone in the city, because that's really what the game's overseeing point is for you to save everyone in Tokyo. And so if you play it where you're trying to achieve that, but then also dealing with the personal conflict of what's going on in the story and just how fucked up what the main protagonist has done with his
Yeah.
wife and
Yeah.
with his daughter.
Mhm.
That's really, I think, the people who will get this game and enjoy it more. But if the collecting is sort of an oversight and it's just something that's there, but it's not really something that you're putting any time or effort into, or even more frankly, if it's just something that you have no desire to do
Yeah.
in the game. Because if you think back to the episodes where I was kind of playing through it and discussing it, one of the main things I would keep highlighting about Ghostwire Tokyo is it is a wet dream for someone who likes completion. And the rewards in the game for completion through those little cat vendors, each one of those warp points, they give you a list of collectibles that you need to find in the area. And they'll actually mark them all out on your map, which is really cool of them. So it's not ever like a mystery where to go to find these things. And yeah, they're repetitious for sure, because it's like sort of like an old Assassin's Creed game where like it's the same 4 or 5 different kind of missions in the collectibles, and then the side quests, which are also, except for 3 of them, are very rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
One thing I kind of wish I had known before going into the game, and I was only able to really figure this out by playing with a guide, is that there are 3 side quests that completely change the outcome of the final sequence. And if you don't do them, it doesn't tell you that you haven't done them. It doesn't tell you what they are, other than when you go to get on the motorcycle to go to the end spot of the game, it'll say, hey, you haven't done this particular side quest.
And it did, yep.
And so if you don't, it's 3 of them. So if you don't go back and do those 3, it drastically changes what happens when you go to the end.
Okay, so I need to go on YouTube and watch some of the alternate endings, I guess.
Yeah, it changes your final encounter with one of your female detective counterparts. We'll say that to spoiler free it. And changes how her story resolves before you go into the end. And I thought it was important enough that maybe it should have just been part of the main story quest.
Yeah.
But it's not. And, the game doesn't really make a big stink about it, but other than warning you, hey, you haven't done this. Do you want to proceed? I feel like a lot of people that are just trying to get through the game would go, well, fuck it, I just want to get through the game.
Yeah.
Versus go back and do these. And those 3 side quests are fucking nuts. Like they're what you probably wish every side quest was in Ghostwire.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I guess kind of the bummer of my experience with this game is that, I don't mind long games. I've played plenty of long games. This game's not long.
No, it's very short.
It felt long to me. Like, I got to hour 12 or 13, and I was just like, I don't care anymore. I just want to finish it.
Yeah, and I sunk about...
when it came time to, like, get on the bike, and it's like, hey, you need to do... I was like, I'm good. Let's roll this thing.
Yeah, and I was just completely enamored with moving around and, like, searching every nook and cranny of the city. I mean, there's Easter eggs everywhere in that place.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy that, and I did, like, anytime I saw one of the, like, the little floating demons, I'd go chase them down, or the ones that run through the alleys, I'd go chase them down. I mean, I did a bunch of that. It ran out of gas for me. And again, I didn't come out overall negative. I am overall positive. I did enjoy the game, but I wanted more. Wanted a little more.
That one boss fight where you have to creep through the vents, and
that was cool.
That is probably the best part of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was cool. That was definitely cool. Next up, I finally fired up Forspoken today, actually. So far, I'm about maybe 3 hours in. I don't get any stink on this thing at all.
Yeah, I haven't really seen one negative person's take on it that wasn't an actual reviewer.
I have one gripe, and it's a big one, and it feels really unnecessary, and that's the language in the game. The game is M for mature, and best I can tell, at least 3 hours in, it's just because of language. Alpha, the main character, or Elfie, I can't remember what her first name is. Cusses worse than a sailor. There's literally one part early in the game where you're fighting a dragon, and she says "fuck" like 9 times in a row. Like, so I'm sitting there like Damon's in the room, Liam's in the room, my wife's sitting next, and I already warned everybody. I was like, I already know there's bad language in this game, so just like be forewarned. And they're all like, Dad, we watch movies, it's fine. And then Liam comes downstairs. He's watching me play like 5 minutes of it. He's like, language isn't that bad. And then as she's running from the dragons, they're like, fuck, 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 fuck. And I was like, do you see what I'm talking about? It's like, it's too much. I don't understand why they did this, because this story could be easily absorbed by anyone. You know what I mean? It's your classic Alice in Wonderland, never-ending story, like someone that has been dealt a bad hand in life and is going nowhere, gets a chance to be like the chosen one and be sent to this magical kingdom and do all this amazing stuff. And like, this is something that my 11-year-old should be able to play. And the fact that the character just says fucking shit every other word for no reason, that's getting on my nerves. But other than that, like, the gameplay's cool, the universe is cool, the dynamic of, like, you know, you have she wears this cuff on her arm, and that's where she gets her powers, and the cuff also talks to her. I find it weird that the cuff sounds exactly like Jarvis from Iron Man's suit. Strange choice, but okay. But so far, like, I'm 3 hours into the game, and I'm enjoying it. And I know there was like a lot of negative hype when this thing came out, and I think a lot of it is a part of the Gamergate. Like, I don't want a black female lead in a video game, so I'm gonna hate review bomb this before it even comes out. And I think a lot of that is what hurt this game. But so far, I mean, that's my only gripe, is that, god damn, does she cuss? Holy hell! Yeah, it's nuts the amount she cusses.
I don't really care for when games like overly use.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost always just the word fuck. It's like, who actually talks that way, number one?
Yeah.
Like, some people do, but not many. And it always feels like kind of lazy writing when it's overused. Well, and it's also,
you know, like, for me, if it's a game that's already going to be M for mature because it's really gory and, like, you know, that kind of thing, for some reason it doesn't bother me. But when I'm playing a game that's, like, very fanciful and, like, I haven't seen a drop of blood. 3 hours in, I haven't seen a single drop of blood. And I'm like, why is this game M for mature? They should have just made it T for teen, had a couple S words in it, and call it a damn day.
Yeah, I remember having that same gripe with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where Cassandra just says fuck like every other word. And it's like,
oh, this is so much worse, Mike.
I'm like,
this is so much worse.
Why?
Yeah.
Why is this Spartan going for the Potty Mouth Award? So, yeah, no, I feel that as a complaint. But Forspoken, I do want to get to. It's just, it's so far from the list of things I need to do. It's coming, but it's just, it's so not yet.
So far, I came in cautiously optimistic because I have heard some negative things. The Metacritic score is not great. I just was kind of going in like
the game is also, frankly, it's bombing. So
yeah, it is
in terms of sales and everything.
It's a flop for sure. But so far I'm enjoying it. And lastly, Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age. I had 2 more playthroughs with this. I'm kind of butting heads a little bit more with the combat now. It is. So I actually ended up going on YouTube and watching a couple tutorials on the combat system in this game, and I figured out what I need to do. So I was talking last week about how you can program basically your characters. You can go your first priority, if somebody is KO'd, use Phoenix Down. Next priority, if somebody's below 30% health, drop a potion on them. Next priority, target whoever is targeting the lead character. Next priority, if character is weak to fire, cast fire spells. You could program the entire battle system to where basically in battle, a lot of times you don't really even need to do anything. And the problem I'm having is that I don't have a lot of these gambits yet, and I didn't know how to get them. So I watched this YouTube video. There's a store in the main town and they're cheap. You just go up and you buy all of the different parameters. So I next time I get into the town, I should be able to fix it. But right now I'm in a dungeon that is kicking my ass, and the auto system's not working. So I really am like, I finally got to a point where I was like, I'm definitely not going to be able to get to the end of this with the potions and Phoenix Downs that I have. So I just hauled ass for the exit and went to the nearest shop and reloaded up on potions and Phoenix Downs and eye drops and all that shit, and went right back into the dungeon. And but now the dungeon I'm at is a bit of a fight, but I'm still enjoying this game. I think I'm going to play it all the way through. I think it's really awesome.
Excellent, as you should. Old games need love too.
Yep.
Well, if that wraps up what you've been playing this week, I need to go through my extensive list of games that I played this week, which is just one game. I played one game this week. I didn't even turn on Star Citizen the whole week. Nothing.
Unheard of.
And that is because the one game I played this week completely captivated me from start until finish. That game is last year's release from Square Enix, Triangle Strategy. We need to talk about this game. Triangle Strategy is a Final Fantasy Tactics style game, but it focuses very heavily on dialogue and cutscenes and decision making. The game is as much about your play of politics as it is about your abilities on the battlefield. And your decisions in this game branch out what's called a war chronicle that can go many, many different directions. And everything that you do and all of your actions in the game severely change what your playthrough experience will be like. The main character of the game's name is Serenoa Wolfort. And in this game, there's 3 regions, kind of in the position of a triangle. In the north, there's Esfrost. In the southwest is Glenbrook. And to the east is Hyzant. And Esfrost is a cold place that believes they're sort of the libertarians of the realm. They believe in freedom and free market. To the east in Hyzant, they're very religious. They follow a creed and live where most of their people live under terms of equality. So they're sort of like a religious socialist government. And then Glenbrook, where your character is based, is sort of an old school monarchy, where there's 3 high houses and then the king. So it's very Game of Thrones-esque, where your character is based. And one of the 3 houses is known for its financial prowess. Yours is known for its combat and might. You're the army of Glenbrook. And the one to the south is known for its archers. And so what takes place in the game is that it picks up at a point where the 3 nations are at peace. But something happens that causes war to outbreak and your country to be invaded. And that's sort of where things begin to pick up, is you then have to forge your own path through a story of having your kingdom survive and forging alliances with friendly nations, but then also dealing with the consequences of those alliances and what they expect in return. And so it's this constant wheel of balance that you have to achieve as you move through the game, politicking between the nations and succeeding in battle. What's interesting, though, is that you yourself do not make any of the decisions. You have your entourage of characters who all have their own convictions, and you're a democracy. So every time there's a major stopping point in the game where a decision needs to be made, Serenoa breaks out in his main court these scales, which are the symbol of the game. and they're called the scales of conviction. And this is probably the coolest aspect of this game. So whenever there's this stopping point and you have to make huge critical decisions, what happens is you break out the scales and everyone takes a break to decide what they want to do individually. While this is happening, you can go into town and talk to the townsfolk and kind of get an idea for what everyone's opinions, outcomes, what the feelings are amongst your people about these different paths. And then you can come back to the castle and you play politics with all of the different people to try and convince them of which way you think you should go. And you, depending on what you've learned, you might have stronger arguments you can make to people to help woo them to your side. But just like real people, sometimes you can make the best argument to them and they'll still go against you. So to get the path that you want as a leader, you not only have to decide what that path is, but then you also have to play the politics of trying to convince your court to vote in that direction. And only then, once the votes are counted, then you always obey the scales of conviction. That's how you move forward. So that is a really cool aspect of this game. And like in total, I think that there was only something like 23 combat scenarios in the entire game. The rest of the game is story, and it watches like a TV show, and running politics and negotiations and strategy. And it's possibly one of the best JRPGs of all time. Like, just hands down, this game is absolutely fantastic. Start to finish, the story in Triangle Strategy is completely captivating, but it's also unique to your decisions. I think once you get to the end of the game, there's 3 outcomes of finality that you can achieve. And I think a 4th if you do a certain path throughout your whole playthrough. That resolves what the outcome of the game is. So you don't see everything the first time you play it. It's just not possible. You would have to play it several times to see the whole game. So it's very much a choose your own adventure book in game format. That also has just some of the best combat of a tactic style game that I've really ever encountered. It has a very wide array of characters. It has a nice leveling system. Interestingly enough, your ability to sway people in politics, part of what plays into that is how well you've taken care of them by upgrading them. So the more effort you've put into building someone up, the more likely they are to agree with you in matters of politics. So there's all these layers to the game that just don't exist in other JRPGs. And I found the whole playthrough of this game to be very, very satisfying. And so much so that I basically put blinders on and I just played this game the entire week. And I even had a nice little bout of work travel, so the Switch was able to come with me. So the night you were playing Ancient Gods, I was on my Switch in my hotel bed, just chugging along through on a Triangle Strategy. And I have to say, this is a very commendable game. It certainly is set up to have a sequel, which should be absolutely amazing. The voice acting in the game is some of the best voice acting I've ever heard. And it's it's a JRPG.
Yeah.
It's a 9.6.
Wow.
It definitely is well up there. And I mean, a score of that strength, if we were to do a traditional Game of the Year discussion, that almost rivals how I scored Elden Ring. So this is a very, very good game. But I also recognize that it's for a niche crowd. If you're looking for high octane action, this is not that. This is a tactics game. So, if you've played Final Fantasy Tactics and enjoyed it, you'd probably love this game, or something like Fire Emblem, or even XCOM, or Midnight Suns, games of that vein. You would probably really enjoy this game. It's just absolutely fantastic, and I can't recommend it strongly enough for anyone who's interested in these kinds of games. So, like, if you said, Mike, you have to pick between Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy, I'm taking Triangle Strategy without thinking.
Wow. What was the playtime?
So I was able to beat my first run through of the campaign in about 25 hours. It was not.
That's great.
It was not punishingly long. There was no like, oh wait, there's more moment. No. The other thing I want to say about this game too that kind of caught me off guard, especially for what kind of game it is that it's brutal. If you're thinking, oh, it's cutesy sprites, I should definitely let my kids play this. People get beheaded, and people go face down in pools of blood. And there's a lot of death in this game, a la Game of Thrones. Like, people that you will have very strong bonds with will suffer emotionally devastatingly loss in this game based on your decisions. Wow. It's not for children in any way, shape, or form.
I gotta play it.
There's no potty mouth because that's just not part of their culture. The worst thing is you see someone say shite once, but it's Eridor, who's like this big grizzly tank character. He's basically the guy you want to put on your front line, who charges out screaming and yelling, trying to get everyone to come attack him, hurling taunts and insults, and being the grizzled old war veteran. So, no, it's really an absolutely wonderful game. It's masterfully done. It hits a lot of good JRPG tropes, while avoiding many others, and the political depth that it scratches is just absolutely wild. Because characters you hate at first, you might develop an understanding for, and it very much makes you question a lot of your own personal beliefs, towards religion, towards capitalism, towards the concept of freedom. It shows the good and bad of, like what we have here in the United States, a capitalist society. It shows the good and the bad of that. Doesn't go out of its way to praise things. It shows the good and bad of socialism, or fascist regimes. Like it's really deep, but it's so easy. It's as easy to digest as a piece of cheese pizza. It just goes right down, and I can't.
That's awesome.
I would say I have not seen a story this cohesive in a Japanese RPG, really since Chrono Trigger. It's of that caliber, like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI. It's that cohesive and good of a story, but then it's much more complex because there's many different paths that you can end up going that those other games don't boast. So, very, very, very strong recommend of Triangle Strategy. I played it on the Switch.
Awesome.
It is very good. Do not sleep on this game. I know it feels like Square Enix releases a new JRPG every week. And that in and of itself can feel a little daunting. But this one is cream of the crop. So that rounds out what I've been playing this week. Just Triangle Strategy. John, didn't you already pick up this game? Do you already have a copy of it?
Yes, I do. I got it on Steam. I played the first battle.
Cool.
Played the first battle.
Yeah, it doesn't take that long to beat. It really doesn't.
That's awesome.
And I mean, just wonderful on the Switch. I'm sure it's fine on PC as well, but Switch is just laying on the couch, playing through, watching the story and everything. It's just great. So, all right. That rounds out what we have been playing this week. Now it's time to touch on a little bit of news.
Yeah,
a little bit of news. So, Dragon Age Dreadwolf is alive and well, apparently. This week, some more leaky leaks happened, but these were more significant than the ones of Horizon whatever that came out last week. These were much more significant because this is really our first ever glimpse into this game or gameplay working in any capacity. So taken from reporting done by Video Games Chronicle, an anonymous Reddit poster, obviously, because they probably don't want to lose their job, slapped up some images and some gameplay footage of Dragon Age Dreadwolf. The user explains on Reddit, it's about 20 minutes of gameplay involving one segment or dungeon. The entire gameplay is set within the Grey Warden's fortress. The player character is an elvish knight, and they've got a sword and shield. They also have 2 party members, another knight dude, and a female dwarf rogue. Combat is completely in real time and similar to a hack and slash. I'm told the guiding reference point was God of War 2018, and that shows. The player has their regular combo attack and then their abilities as well as a special bar, which generates allowing you to pull off a special move. As the character was a sword and shield guy, dude, he was able to, I like how this user writes, dude. He was able to parry attacks from enemies and follow up with counters. It's hard to tell their exact abilities. They only had 2 on hotkeys along with a special, but one apparently appears to be a drop kick and the other a charged sword attack. The alpha version reportedly did not contain the ability to command party members, but the Reddit user noticed the most immediate thing you notice is the animation quality is drastically improved. We've never seen animation quality this good in any BioWare game. I would counter that Andromeda sort of had the same kind of look to it. In terms of gameplay, mobility and stuff. That was very Andromeda-esque. And I have my opinions on this, but Johnny, I am curious first to perhaps hear yours.
I'm excited by this gameplay footage that we saw. We enjoy BioWare games because of the story. Is that a fair statement?
To an extent, games, yeah. I mean, obviously the story is a big part of it.
Story is a big part of it. And that goes for Mass Effect, that goes for Dragon Age, that goes for... So, they're obviously switching this up from your standard Dragon Age gameplay. But that being said, I think this makes the game more accessible. I think people that have never touched a Dragon Age game may be tempted to touch this one. And it looked like a lot of fun. I mean, this is like, if you give me a game that has this style of gameplay and you give me a good story and RPG mechanics and characters that I party up with and have relationships with and build repertoire with and or build rapport with and all that's why I play these games. So this isn't what I expected, but I'm not disappointed. I think it looks cool.
I also think it looks cool. However, I don't know. It's a little bit of a mixed bag for me. Kind of recounting the history of Dragon Age. Dragon Age Origins was a very tactical game. Like, it did have real-time combat, but a lot of the combat flow was pausing, issuing orders, and then unpausing, letting them play out, then pausing, then issuing orders. So it was taking place in real time, but you kind of played it like a turn-based game. You controlled when the turns ended, so to speak.
Yeah.
they got away from that in Dragon Age 2. And Dragon Age 2 is very polarizing because a lot of people dislike it, but then some people consider it the best in the whole series. And then there's Dragon Age Inquisition, which by far and large is considered the best Dragon Age game. Dragon Age Inquisition more or less returned to form to what Origins was putting down. And that game did okay. I mean, it was a Game of the Year winner when it came out. In terms of sales, I think that game sold somewhere around 6 or 7 million units. So not a barn door burner, but for that kind of game, not too shabby.
Yeah.
So Dreadwolf is very much a continuation of Inquisition that is long overdue. But it follows a lot of the same characters introduced in Inquisition. So I don't know that changing the gameplay, if we're talking about history possibly repeating itself with Dragon Age and Dragon Age 2, maybe is what the series needs. The thing that I'm concerned about, though, with BioWare is they so desperately need a W. I consider Andromeda a good game, but that game was an L for them.
Big time.
Anthem was a giant L for them, which was the game they did afterwards. And Dreadwolf has had a very tumultuous development cycle where it was originally going to be a live service game, and then that whole thing got scrapped and they started over. And so now we have what's on the horizon, which I would think that we'll probably see this game next year, 2024. It's in alpha right now, so is it possible that we get a late release this year? Okay, yeah. That would be possible. But I would think that we'd probably see it sometime next year.
Yeah, I agree.
The main things that I would be concerned about, though, is what BioWare is best known for, other than Mass Effect, is tactical RPGs and a sort. You know, going back to Neverwinter and going back to their old PC bangers. And then moving forward to Knights of the Old Republic and Dragon Age Origins and Jade Empire. And
masterpiece games at their time.
That had slower combat in them, that weren't action games. And I look at a lot of the fantasy action games that have come out, and they're always just okay. You know, like I would say Kingdoms of Amalur is a good one to point to as like an action RPG that this kind of reminded me of when I was looking at the alpha footage. But then I think to myself, I'm like, well, what fantasy combat system works best? And that is the style of Elden Ring that works best.
Or God of War.
But it's that kind of slower paced, more thoughtful kind of action. And this one, you know, you can see clearly in the video, it's got the 4 face buttons of a controller that have your different abilities on it. I'm not too thrilled about what I saw. Not too thrilled. Because I don't know that a Dragon Age game... How should I word this? BioWare has for too long has been trying to be something other than BioWare. Anthem was trying to be a clone of Destiny and tried to ride its coattails and came too late and just didn't do it well enough.
It was dead on arrival.
Correct. And they kind of have shown that and then the game that this was originally was, again, supposed to be in that vein and then got scrapped. So I've been worried about BioWare for a long time because it's like it really seems apparent that they, starting with Mass Effect Andromeda, is that they kind of forgot what they were after Mass Effect 3. After Inquisition, honestly. Is they kind of lost sight of what makes a BioWare game a BioWare game. If you play a game from Bethesda, you know what a Bethesda game is. Same if you play a Sony Santa Monica game, you know what that is. And I don't know that I have the faith in BioWare presently to have the power to reinvent themselves into something that they are not. Certainly, Sony Santa Monica did so, moving from God of War 3 into God of War 2018. But they got that right on their first shot. Insomniac is also another great example of a studio that can wear many hats and gets it right on the first shot when they change. And BioWare is just not proven to have done that successfully yet. And we've seen what action looks like from BioWare in Anthem and in Mass Effect Andromeda. And it's kind of a stiff feeling thing. And one of my first observations of this alpha footage was that it looks kind of stiff. It has that BioWare action look to it. And my fond memories of Dragon Age Origin, back when I was poor as fuck, living in an apartment in Glen Burnie, playing that game with my 3 roommates and all of his fucking crazy cats in my bedroom on my old Philips 4:3 aspect ratio TV, was just being enchanted by the story and then being tested by the tactical combat of that game. And that's what made it special to me, was building the party that works, setting the priority of their actions that works. But on the other hand, their best Dragon Age game sold 7 million copies, which in today's economy is good, but it's not, hey, this game's been in development for almost a fucking decade good.
Yeah.
God of War, Ragnarok. Johnny, did you know that game's already sold 11 million copies?
It deserves it.
Last of Us Part 2 has sold, like in the whole first year it was out, sold 10. Yep. And that's considered like critical darling status. Ghost of Tsushima sold 10 million copies. So I think there's a lot of pressure on BioWare. There's been so much pressure on BioWare since EA bought them. And they have failed to live up to it. I'm just not sure that a direct sequel to a game from 2016 that completely changes the flow. I'm not saying I don't think it could work. I'm just saying I don't feel very confident. And I hope that I'm pleasantly surprised by this because I love the Dragon Age series. But I am a little concerned at the shift. That's my thoughts. Johnny, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I mean, I think we're all worried about BioWare, and I think that's a fair thing. And generally, whenever we get any kind of leak like this, we always fall on opposite sides of the spectrum. I'm always the cautiously optimistic guy. I'm like, man, this looks dope. I can't wait to play it. And you're like, let's look at the numbers. Let's think about what they've done previously. Like, you dig further. I go surface level. I saw this video and went, this looks fun. I showed it to my wife, who fucking adored Inquisition. It's one of her favorite games. She beat it all the way through twice, and it's not a short game. No. I showed her the footage, and she was very excited. So I think my wife would be the target audience for this game because she's the non-gamer, really doesn't really play a whole lot of games. Occasionally one will catch her attention and take over for a little bit, and Inquisition was one of them. And she was excited by what she saw. So
yeah, I liked how the menus looked. I thought they were gorgeous, but yeah, I'm just a little skeptical. But I don't know what, when a game reaches. Let's be clear about what we saw too, because it wasn't like some pre-alpha. Alpha means the game runs from start to finish, and they're entering the debugging mode. That's what an alpha is. You know, I think those terms have gotten kind of fucked up because, like, in the industry, beta gets used a lot interchangeably for what demo actually means. And beta is like the final wave of debugging normally. It's not like public early access of a completed game. So the game's in alpha, which means they're going to be tightening up textures, they're going to be tightening up performance and optimization and debugging. Like, that is the phase that they are currently on. And that part can take a long time. But when you reach alpha, what you're seeing is what you are getting. Like, that will be the game. You know, and it's not going to look drastically different from what we saw when it came out, when it comes out. So it's nearing completion. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm curious to see, you know, because Mass Effect Andromeda had like the real-time action vibe to it, but you could still pause and interject, you know, so I think it might be something more like that. I'm not really 100% because, you know, this wasn't an official announcement or anything. This was just a leak. I think we will probably see EA come out with something now.
Yeah, I agree.
To clear up confusion and doubt. There, you know, things like this kind of put your feet to the fire to make a presentation. So we will learn more, but I am excited at least that it is coming. Because with it being a Dragon Age title, I'll probably be interested in getting it regardless of what it is.
Likewise. Yep, me too.
Time to move on to our final piece of news. This is just more of a quick note. A public service announcement, if you will. Sony is removing the PS Plus collection. So, real quick education, if you're not aware. All PS Plus subscribers, so just their standard, what used to be PlayStation Plus service, you know, not the extra subscription things, but it came with what was called the PS Plus collection as of about 2 years ago. They introduced this. And that collection includes some really good games that you just get for being a PS Plus member. Those games include presently God of War, Fallout 4, Mortal Kombat, Uncharted 4, Ratchet and Clank, Days Gone, Until Dawn, Detroit Become Human, Battlefield 1, Infamous Second Son, Batman Arkham Knight, The Last Guardian, The Last of Us Remastered, Resident Evil 7, Bloodborne, and Monster Hunter World. So that's enough games to satisfy some people for like an entire fucking year.
Amen.
And you just get those for being a PlayStation Plus member. So the basic entry, I just want to play shit online tier, you get all those games. And the way that works is you just go to the PS Plus collection section of the screen and you click add to library, and then you can download them whenever you want and play them. But as soon as you add to library, as long as you have an active PS Plus subscription, those games are available to you. So the PSA is that Sony is taking that away in May. By taking away, though, that simply means new people will not be able to add these games to their library. So if you're a current existing user, number one, if you don't already own all of these games, take a minute, hop on your PlayStation, and add them to your library. You will have them in perpetuity as long as you have an active PlayStation membership. But there is some outcry over the removal of the free games. Johnny, what's your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think the list that they're offering is crazy, and I think that list was clearly there to move more PlayStation 5 units, and I don't think they owe it to anybody to keep them there. I mean, they still have a ridiculous game list on the PlayStation Plus Premium. They have so much shit to play. I think really the biggest part of the PSA is if you don't have a PlayStation 5 and you've been planning on getting one, I think it would be worth it for you to go onto the PlayStation Store, log into your Sony account, sign up for PlayStation Plus, go through that list and hit add to library. You can do it in browser. You don't have to do it on a PlayStation 5. Add them all to your library and then cancel your subscription. And when you go buy your PlayStation 5 over the summer, log into that PlayStation Plus, sign back up, and that those games will be there. Because Mike's right. This would keep you busy for a year.
And it is important to note, too, it's, Johnny, that's a great life hack suggestion that you've made, but that would only be for somebody that didn't have a PS4, and you're just getting into PlayStation. Now, if you have a PS4, all these are accessible to you as well. These are all PS4 games. But yeah, if you have no PS4 and no PS5, certainly Johnny's suggestion of, we'll just go grab a month of PS Plus and add them all to your library. And then when you do eventually get around to getting a fucking PlayStation 4 or 5 or whatever, you'll have access to all these things.
And I would also imagine if you've never had a PlayStation Plus account, I'm sure they have a trial. You could probably sign up for the trial, add all that shit to your library, and then cancel it. And then, like I said, 3 months from now, when you go buy your PS5, just sign back up, and those games will be there, and you'll be very happy that you did it.
Yeah, I don't think any backlash here is warranted that there has been. I mean, they're giving people 3 months to go take care of their business. It's not like they said, hey, tomorrow we're taking this down, or just shadow pull it or something. No, they're giving everyone the heads up. Hey, look, you have until May. Like, if you can't be bothered to go add these to your library by May, then sorry. And I guess also worth mentioning, I saw this today, is if you don't have a PS5, somehow you don't have one. I know that there are still some areas of the country where they're not just sitting in stores. I've seen stacks of them in local Best Buys and Targets and things, but
same.
We live in a pretty dense area. But Amazon has them just back where it just says in stock. We're finally there. So if you just need to go buy one, just buy one. It should be easy now, hopefully. But
yeah, I mean, I one of my coworkers who actually the person you were speaking of earlier, he's a big Xbox guy, and he hasn't had a PlayStation in forever. So anytime I mention any of these games, he's never played them. Like, bro, he's never played God of War. He's never played The Last of Us. I'm like, dude, you need just buy a PlayStation, sign up for the account, and they give you everything you'll need for like at least 6 months. Like, you're set. You're set. You've got blockbuster masterpiece after one after the other after the other. I mean, it's top tier gaming. I'm a PC gamer through and through, but I own a PlayStation because the level of quality that Sony releases about 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year. They just release fucking bangers.
You know what? That is a fine segue to our final segment of this week's show, Johnny. So let's, without further ado, let's jump into our final segment, and that, of course, is One Up. So, Johnny, it looks like you had a bit of a time capsule One Up here. Why don't you tell everyone what you've got going on this week?
All right, so my oldest has this new thing. He finds it entertaining to take words that don't go together and just say them. So he'll just be like, waffle fries, squirrel sandwich, shit like that, right? And it made me think of my first band's first CD. So I had a band called Hybrid back in the day. And I was the oldest member at 17 years old. Our drummer was the youngest of the band, and he was 13 years old. And at the very beginning, the first thing you hear before the first song is our drummer yelling, chicken, potato, apple pie, before the song kicks in. So it's literally the 1, 2, 3, 4 of the song was chicken, potato, apple pie, boom, and then the song starts. And so I Googled it. I was trying to find, because I know the shit's online. Like Steve, our old guitar player, is like the archivist of that shit. So I know he's got it on like SoundCloud or Reverb Nation or something. So I start Googling around. The album was called You Are Here, like when you look at a map and it says You Are Here. So it was called Hybrid You Are Here. And I searched it on Google, hoping it would come up with like SoundCloud or whatever. And the first link was an image of the CD, so I just clicked on that to see where it would take me, and it took me to an eBay posting for my first band CD that I recorded when I was 17 years old, and it says rare, out of print, hybrid you are here, and it had a buy it now of $50. I'm tempted to reach out to this guy and say, hey, do you happen to have any interest on the cassette tape? Because I think our guitar player still has about 4 boxes of cassette tapes for this album sealed in the box. They're yours if you want them. But it was just funny to, like, you know, how the times have changed. You know, a $5 CD that we used to give away at shows. And, you know, this was the same CD I handed to Busta Rhymes when I was front row at 930 Club to see the Flip Mode Squad live. I mean, I've handed that CD to so many different celebrities and shit over the years, and it's just funny to see it on eBay for $50. I wanted to message anybody that looks at it and says, please do not spend $50 on this. It's on SoundCloud. Just go listen to it there.
That's funny. Yeah, if you actually have any of those tapes, I would happily take one. If you see over my shoulder next to my Master Sword is my big awesome Sony tape deck. I would happily. Next time
Steve's coming over for a gaming night, remind me. He literally has boxes.
And we should schedule that soon. It's time.
Yeah, we need to make that happen. I'm
down. My one up this week is gaming consoles. Let me tell you why. So, of the wonderful games that have come out recently, one of the most talked about ones is the Dead Space remake, which I actually did sit and watch someone else play start to finish, and it's fucking phenomenal. There has, however, been some issues with the PC version, where basically every time you enter a new room, which is pretty fucking common in Dead Space, there's this like hard stutter issue on the PC version. And the more I sit and think about it, the more I'm remembering instances and scenarios outside of Cyberpunk 2077, ironically, but where PC versions of games that are released on consoles seem to really be struggling lately in terms of their release optimization. And it sort of has been begging the question of, you know, for certain things, where is the best place to play video games? And I've really come to the conclusion of late that, for better or worse, it is still gaming consoles. Obviously, there's outliers. You're not going to play Star Citizen on a fucking PlayStation. That's just not happening. You're not going to play iRacing on your Xbox. There are games that are PC games, and that's not what I'm talking about. What I am, however, talking about, though, is, you know, as Sony loosens its grip on exclusivity, and Microsoft is really pushing a neutered platform between its Xbox and PC releases, that PC releases, for whatever reason, really seem to be struggling lately upon release in the face of their console counterparts. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You would think that a PC would have an easier time running most of these things, especially the beasts that me and Johnny have sitting upon our desktops. But that just hasn't been the case. Callisto Protocol was another great example of that. Kind of a somewhat symbiotic relationship to Dead Space, just by nature of who made the game originally. Had nothing to do with the remake, but I digress. It's just, you know, I watch the difference between experience that a lot of new games are having between console and PC. And another famous one that you experienced firsthand, Johnny, Elden Ring, which is widely accepted of being a giant pile of dog shit on PC in comparison to how it runs on console. And I mean, we suffered through that together. You playing it and me watching it through your Twitch channel. And I don't know what the rhyme or reason for that is. I don't know why that seems to be a constant thing, no matter who's putting out the games.
I think it's always been there. I mean, I've always been a PC player, and I can tell you, any game that's released on everything, so it's coming out on all the consoles and it's coming out on PC, you always sort of have to be a wary consumer and make sure that the PC port is not a big pile of trash. So you gotta kind of go through the Steam reviews when it comes out and make sure that it's, operational, because the PC guys will tell you if it's a pile of shit. They will tell you. I mean, I guess the one counter I have to that argument, though, is that a PC release, let's say it's broken on day one, they typically have them ironed out within a few weeks or a month. And then on top of that, as the timeline goes forward, modders and shit find ways to make the game better. So, like, for example, when I fired up Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age, I didn't like the fact that the frame rates were locked at 60. So I did a quick Google search, and it's like, oh, here we go. It's this mod program. Boom, frame rate unlocked. And now I'm way past 60 frames per second. And, so there are some advantages to PC, and that's specifically in the modding side of things. They'll find ways to, retexture packs and all kinds of shit like that.
Yeah, it's just for your, 99% consumer, though. If somebody, and even with PCs, I mean, gaming PCs have become incredibly streamlined at this point.
Yep.
And there's not everyone that has a high-end gaming PC is an intelligent person when it comes to computers. So it's just, it creates this weird conundrum that validates the existence of consoles in the face of, what ultimately is a better platform. I mean, PC is so far ahead of consoles right now. I mean, even in just simple terms of how games are distributed, we can see the future on PC already. We already have it. It's already here.
Yeah.
But consoles continue to thrive and continue to have better releases. So my one-up this week is just a call out to the console gamer that, as much as us 3080 packing PC bros may chest bump over our insane resolution and frames per second capabilities, that oftentimes with new game releases, the better experience will still be had over on a console. So be wary,
especially
be wary, you Dead Space fanatics, of the current condition of that game on PC. It's not apparently doing very well, but runs like butter on fucking PS5. So who can explain that? Johnny, any closing thoughts as we round out this week's episode? Any call outs? I know you're making your push to infinity on Snap. That's probably
dude,
you're thinking about right now.
I've already titled the stream, baby. Let's go. I'm ready to hit infinity.
And for those that somehow haven't heard him mention it, it's Hell Hero on Twitch. Just swap out
with threes for E's. H3LL, H3RO.
Just swap out those E's for threes. You can find Johnny very easily there. I have to figure out what I'm playing next, because I just wrapped Triangle Strategy.
God of War Ragnarok. Ragnarok. Stop beating around the fucking bush.
I had to have a talk with Amy of look, I've been putting off this game for weeks and months now. We don't have what Johnny and Megan have. We don't have that.
You have to play this.
Our
fucking
schedules
game,
just don't line up like theirs do, and I need to get on this because I'm tired of putting it off. So
I want to have a God of War Ragnarok spoiler fucking episode, and you better beat this game so I can still remember it.
So I'm thinking that I might fire that up tonight. We'll see.
Do it. It's a masterpiece.
We will, of course, be back again next week with another great episode of the Power Gamer Podcast for you to enjoy. Until then, I'm Mike Dawson.
And I'm Johnny Paul.
Tune in next time. Take care.
Catch y'all on the flip-flop.
Ooh, yeah.
Infinity, here I come.